Zoe transformed her late pop's rundown vineyard in the Hunter Valley into one of the most successful boutique wineries in the state. She took on massive debts, did the brutal hard yakka under the blazing sun, and personally oversaw every single step of the vintage until her farm started pulling in millions. Used to carrying the entire load on her own shoulders, Zoe was incredibly relieved to entrust her exhausted heart to Julian, a refined art consultant from Sydney who seemed like the perfect safe harbour. So, when her hubby suggested opening an exclusive art gallery on the edge of the property to attract wealthy investors, she agreed without a second thought. Zoe took out a $150,000 business loan to completely renovate an old tin shed on the boundary of the farm. Julian managed the reno himself, strictly banning his wife from stepping inside so as not to ruin the strict climate control for the fragile canvases. Zoe smiled fondly at his perfectionism, dutifully paid all the invoices, and buried herself in the grueling harvest season, completely oblivious to the monstrous lie growing right on her own land. Right in the middle of the busy season, Zoe noticed the power bills for the art shed had absolutely skyrocketed. Julian brushed it off, blaming the heavy-duty aircon needed for the paintings, and headed off to Sydney for the weekend. The very next day, a main irrigation pump cacked on the farm, and Zoe had to pop into the utility lean-to right behind Julian's locked shed for a spare part. Pushing open the heavy door, she froze dead in her tracks. There were no paintings and no easels. The massive shed had been completely gutted and transformed into a luxury split-level apartment with a designer kitchen and high-end furniture. A young blonde in a silk robe strolled out of the bathroom humming a tune. Mistaking a stunned Zoe for a hired farmhand, the girl cheerfully introduced herself as Mia Julian's fiancée. She happily chirped that her millionaire fiancé would soon sack the rude vineyard manager and move them into the main homestead after their wedding. Every single word from this naive girl hammered a rusty nail into the coffin of Zoe's happy marriage. The shock was paralyzing, but years of steering a business through major agricultural crises kicked in as a pure survival reflex. Forcing herself to plaster on a professional mask, Zoe apologized for the intrusion, calmly walked out of the shed, and locked herself in her office. She allowed herself exactly 5 minutes of bitter, gut-wrenching tears before her shattered heart was covered in an icy armor of calculating fury. Cracking open her laptop, Zoe pulled up all the bank statements and realized the sickening truth. Julian had been doctoring invoices from phantom building companies, systematically bleeding her business loan dry. He cold-bloodedly used her blood and sweat to build a secret love nest and play the wealthy sugar daddy for a young mistress. Zoe immediately hired the most ruthless financial crime solicitor in the state. The lawyer confirmed her husband's actions constituted major corporate fraud and embezzlement. Instead of throwing a standard domestic tantrum, they quietly prepped arrest warrants and eviction notices, deciding to deliver a catastrophic nuclear strike at the upcoming annual investor gala dinner, where Julian absolutely loved to bask in the spotlight. The perfect moment arrived on Friday evening when the winery's luxury hall filled with influential guests, wine critics, and the absolute elite of the Hunter Valley. Julian, wearing a custom-tailored tuxedo, stood dead center of the room, smugly soaking up compliments for his highly successful business. In the crowd, Zoe spotted Mia gazing adoringly at her supposed fiancé. Just as Julian stepped up to the stage to deliver a pompous speech, the ambient music abruptly cut out. Zoe strode confidently up to the microphone, flanked by her solicitor and 2 uniformed police officers. With a single click of a remote, she cast high-res photos of the luxurious hidden shed, the fake invoices, and Julian's explicit text messages with his mistress onto the massive projector screens. Right in front of the horrified, gasping crowd, Zoe handed her speechless husband divorce papers, while the cops immediately clicked steel handcuffs around his wrists for major corporate embezzlement. Turning to a violently sobbing Mia, Zoe coldly gave her exactly 1 hour to pack her bags and get the hell off her private property. As the disgraced, humiliated traitor was marched out to a waiting paddy wagon, Zoe raised a crystal glass of her best vintage, permanently purging the parasite from her life. What would you guys have done? Waited for the gala for a massive public takedown, or booted them both the exact same day you walked into that shed? Drop your honest opinions down in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more satisfying and shocking true stories coming your way.